السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah amma ba'd. This is a brief talk or discussion reminding us that sadness and feeling down is a human emotion. In other words, it is natural for a person to feel sad as well as to feel down, to not always be upbeat. As Sheikh Salih Fawzan Hafidhullah, he said that the life of this world, no one is he said in the life of this world, no one is always in a perpetual state of happiness. No one stays up indefinitely. Rather, there is what we call ups and downs in life. And Islam takes all of that in consideration, meaning the Creator knows that there will be moments where His servants will feel distress, saddened. So we want to remind the people with something beautiful that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say in a tremendous dua, supplication, which the companions with one Allah Ta'ala alayhim, may Allah have mercy upon all, may Allah be pleased with all of them, they used to hear him constantly say this tremendous dua. And this dua, the Prophet ﷺ, he sought refuge from 6 things, which shows and indicates to us that these things are natural and there are natural emotions that we might go through. And just because we are Muslims, it doesn't mean we are superhumans, or that we don't feel or have the ability to feel, or that life events, whether negative or positive, do not affect us in some type of way. That would be incorrect to assume, because Allah Azza wa Jalla, He knows us, and He is closer to us than our jugular vein. This tremendous hadith is collected by Bukhari, where the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-huzn. That's the first 2. Wal-ajzi wal-kasal. That's 4. Wa-jubani wal-bukhli wal-jubani. That's 6. And actually it mentions about 8. I stand correct. ضلع الدين وغلبة الرجال. Okay? So he used to say, Oh Allah, I take refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow, weakness and laziness, miserliness and cowardice, the burdens of debts, and from being overpowered by men. So let's take a brief look at the words that are used within this tremendous dua. And then we will take a look at Ibn al-Qayyim's explanation to this dua, inshallah. And hopefully it will uplift us, allow us, and let us know that our Creator is aware of our state, and that you and I should not feel alienated or to be made feel alienated because we experience these moments of down periods in life. Okay, so the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ sought refuge with Allah against is ham. What is ham? So ham means to make uneasy or to feel something with anxiety. It is the type of distress one feels that affects the mind, heart, and the body. Okay? This sadness worries a person. And one's sole concern is this sadness, meaning they become so engulfed, so submerged in this sadness. Ham leaves a person preoccupied with one's thoughts, going over them again and again in his or her mind, because it is an anxiety that one has regarding something that may or may not happen. If you have ever felt this type of sadness, this anxious and nervous feeling, you know how debilitating it can be. And no doubt, ham is something that all of us at one point or another have experienced in our life. So notice how the Prophet ﷺ grouped these certain words, and he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from these different types of feelings and emotions that we go through on a daily basis. Then he said, "Wal huzn." Now, al huzn also means sadness. Okay, but notice the difference here. But it is a different type of ham. Ham. Huzn is grief arising on the account of an unpleasant event that has happened, meaning something that took place in the past, such as the death of a loved one or a distressing situation. And the Sirah, the year that Abu Talib, the Prophet ﷺ uncle, and Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha passed away, it was known as Al-Amul Hazn. It was known as the year of grief. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions many times that the believers will not yahzanun. Yahzanun. وَلَا يَخَافُونَ وَلَا يَحْزَنُونَ. That they would not have this grief, this hazn, this al-huzn, as the Prophet ﷺ group here. This means that in the hereafter, the believers will not grieve over anything that has occurred in the past. Huzn means to be full of sorrow, mourning, grief, and sadness for something that already took place. Okay? So it's important to pay attention to the prophetic dua, because we know that one of the distinguishing signs of the Anbiya, of the prophets, is that their dua are accepted. Okay? And also we understand that they have the best way into approaching the Creator, so they teach us the best etiquettes and when and what type of attributes or name to use or even group together when making a supplication. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ دَاعِي إِذَا دَعَانِ. When my servants ask you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about me, then inform them that I am very close to them when the supplication call on me. So that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very attentive, he's very aware, and he also the all-hearer, the all-knower, and the all-seer. So he knows whatever distress or discomfort or what saddens you or grieves you in this life. So he is with you. As Allah Jalla wa Ala says multiple times, Wallahu ma'ak, and Allah is with you. And the correct belief is that Allah is not with you with his physical self, but he's with you with his knowledge, his capability, his seeing and his hearing, as Allah Azza wa Jal told Musa alayhi salam wa Harun, فَإِنِّي مَعَكُمَا أَسْمَعُ وَأَرَى. As Allah said already, I'm with you both by way of hearing and seeing. And Allah knows best. So then the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-Ajiz. Ajiz means to be weak, to lack strength, to be incapable and a failure. Okay? And there are times in our lives where we feel that we are weak, or we are incapable of carrying something out, or doing something that we would like to carry out. There are times in our lives that we feel like we don't have the necessary strength, and it does not got anything just all the times dealing with age. Okay? There are some people who are elderly but still are strong, physically. So there are some people who are young, and even though they have the physical physique, but they still weak in some form of another. So being incapable of feeling like a failure. Then the Prophet ﷺ grouped this with the next word, which is called al-kasal. Kasal means to be lazy, idle, sluggish, negligent, and inactive. One thing you always want to try to be is active, energetic if you can be. Not super energetic, because you're going to go through different down periods in different places in your life. When you're at a youth, when you're an infant, that's more so like a down period, so to speak. But when you start reaching the age of being a toddler and moving about, there's a burst of energy there that is there, okay? And that energy normally spikes down again when you are getting up in the age of Shabbat. But you have this spurt of energy even throughout your teenage years. So this period of moment of spurt you're going to have, but the purpose is to not be inactive. You have to find ways and methods that will help you not to become inactive. Becoming inactive is slowly, which is something that can become detrimental not only to your mental, not only to your health, not only to your spiritual state, but what it does, it allows you to become like a lone sheep being attacked by a ravenous wolf, a ravenous wolf. Wolf. Why? Because the shaitan only attacks the one who is alone, who is isolated, who feel as though they cannot do anything or doesn't have the willpower to do anything. And worship in and of itself brings about you being active, praying 5 times a day for men in congregation. Look at this. It brings about you being active, offering supererogatory prayers, saying the ad'iyahs, the different du'as, when you get up, when you go to sleep, when you go to the bathroom. All of these different things keep you in an active state, in the attentive state. Allah Jalla wa Ala said, "Inna fi dhalika لذكرى لمن له ألقى سمع وهو شهيد." The one who has a qalbun, an attentive heart, and this person has what we call alqa huwa sam'u shahid, that they are very paying attention, they are alert, they are alarmed, they are active. So inactive is a form of what we call kasal. Then the Prophet ﷺ grouped 2 other words, which is, these are 8 things that the Prophet ﷺ in this dua seek refuge from. So it's important that we pay attention to them, because these are all emotions that we experience at some point in time in our lives, and we should not be made to feel alienated or look down because we have these emotions. They're natural, they're human. But what do? Islam has the answer. Al-Bukhl. Al-Bukhl is to be stingy and greedy. Okay? In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word to describe those who have the wealth to give, but hoard it for themselves and do not give it in charity. Charity is one of the means or the methods that prevents yourself from being stingy. So when you give to others, you are preventing your nafs from being stingy. That's one of the benefits of giving sadaqah. Okay? And it protects you from this bukhl. Okay? Bukhl is to refuse to give something lawful. It can be charity or your time, etc., that you have in abundance. It is to prefer it for yourself, and because of this greediness, because when you prefer it for yourself and don't want to extend it to others, you're being greedy. This good thing, such as wealth, is never used for good. If a person is storing up and hoarding up all of the abundance of gifts that he has been bestowed upon him, how can he be utilizing it for good when he's not using it in services for others? Whether they be his immediate family, whether they be his relatives, whether they be his kinfolk, whether they be his neighbors, etc. If he don't want to share, that's the point there. If a person doesn't want to share, then how can what he or she is hoarding or storing up for themselves be of any good service? This word is opposite of karam, which is to be generous and give in ample amounts. And we know that in the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, they say that the Prophet ﷺ used to give, and they would say that Muhammad is given for like he doesn't fear poverty. Okay? One of the names of Allah is Al-Kareem, the most generous, who abundantly gives from his limitless bounty without seeking anything in return. And you look at that, Allah Azza wa Jal continues to give even though people commit shirk with him day and night. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to give even though people commit kufr day and night. Even though people call on others besides Allah, Allah still continuously give. Even though people disbelieve in Allah, Allah continuously give. He doesn't withhold back his generosity. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he says, grouping bukhl with al-jubn. Now jubn literally means to shrink, linguistically. In the Arabic language, it means to shrink down. From this meaning of becoming cowardly and fearful is taken. All right? So when a person shrink down in size, or they feel as though they're a lesser then whoever they're lesser than a challenge or lesser than a person, then really what they're doing is that fear that have taken hold of them have made them like a coward. And they are afraid to meet or step up to the challenge or to meet the opponent or to man the task. So look at how the Prophet ﷺ grouped these 8 words together, and he coupled them together with different words, at least in 2. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from what? From ham wal huzn. And they both mean sadness but a different form. So he put them both together. Okay? He mentioned them grouped together. From ajiz wal kasal, which is 2 forms of laziness, but he mentioned them together. Okay? Then he said dala'a. The word dala'a, in this case, the linguistic meaning is that this is a word for the rib. It's a body part. And its linguistic roots carry 2 implications. Okay? Curvature and weight. Okay? Therefore, dala'a dain in this actual dua can either mean the tendency for depth to sway people from righteousness, meaning you might feel so overwhelmed that you have a debt on your head that you don't stay on the straight and narrow. You will do anything in order to get it removed, so you might fall into that which is impermissible. All right? Or the weight one feels when indebted, because no doubt it's stressful. It's stressful when you owe someone something, or you have to repay something to someone, or you have to return something to someone. You want to keep your word. You want to be able to pay the person in full, but it can become stressful. And so that you know something about stress. Stress is not, it has a way of being negative and it has a way of being positive. You can be stressed whether it's a positive situation or a negative situation. Okay? And anxiety can fall under that as well. You know, for example, you have your big day. You're getting ready to carry out something that you wanted to do for a long time. Say, for example, you authored a book, so you're getting ready to have a book signing. So you want to make sure everything is up to par, everything is on time, that you're there, that you have everything right, your books is already printed, so forth, etc. So this is your stress level going up because you are worried and you're anxious that everything will be right. And this is a positive situation. This is not a negative situation. It's not like you're stressed because your car had broken down, or you're stressed because someone had robbed you or taken something from you unjustly. No, you're stressed in a positive way. But stress is still there because it is it's a part of a human experience. And the Creator does not obliterate that. It does not demand from us to be superhumans and to overlook this. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Dala ad-dain, right? Meaning having debt so much on us that we either sway from doing good just to repay someone, or we either feel weighed down. And then he mentioned and coupled this with ghalaba. Ghalaba means to be overtaken, subdued, or overpowered. And it is said that taglibu alayhi ni'as, he was overtaken by drowsiness. So we can see that from these different wordings that are in this tremendous hadith, which are 8 things that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam sought refuge from, is important for us to take a look at because Islam provides the answer. The Creator did not say that you shouldn't be sad, or that you couldn't be sad, or that you couldn't be distressed, or that you couldn't be worried, or that you couldn't have anxiety. The Creator did not say those things, nor that you would not encounter certain things in your life that will bring about certain things. No, the Creator gives us what we call coping mechanisms to be able to respond to these things. So one of the strongest, if not the strongest, as it was mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that ad-du'a silatul mu'min, that the dua, the supplication, is a weapon for the believer. One of the strongest, if not the strongest thing that you have is dua, because it's a direct connection with your Creator. And this is what we see in the story of the Anbiya. Here we have Ayub alayhi salam, who was tried from every angle you can think about. He was tried in his wealth, Allah took all of that. He was tried in his children, Allah removed their lives. He was tried physically in his body. And so that you know, there's not nothing that happened to you except that you experience some type of feeling or stress or emotion from that thing that takes place. And each one of us are different, so it can affect us in different ways. Okay? It can linger. It can have the tendency that we replay it over and over, that we have anxiety. These things can happen. So how do we focus? How do we redirect those things? What is the important thing here that we must pay attention to? And that's what this dua is teaching us. These 8 things are natural. But guess what? There are coping mechanisms that we can help remove them if we go to the one who has the power to uplift them and remove them. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, which is known as Shamsuddin Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya, who died 751 after the Hijrah. He says in a tremendous book which is known as Ad-Dawa, the cure and the illness, or the cure and the sickness and the cure and this cure, he mentioned that talking about the chapter of sins and disobedience being the cause of the weakness of one's heart to Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? And he mentioned that sin, it either can cause the heart to be dead, or it either can cause it to be sick, where it places in it fear, or it causes its strength to become weakened. And what happened is, it doesn't stop this weakness until we see that there are 8 things which the Prophet ﷺ sought refuge from, and they are the 8 things we just went over extensively. That was ham, worry, sadness, anxiety, hazan, grief. That was ajaz, feeling incapable, a failure, kasal, being lazy, idle, sluggish, negligent, inactive, jubal, being cowardly, not stepping up to the challenge, shrinking down, bukhal, being stingy or greedy, wadala or dain, and feeling in debt or weighed down, waghalabat al-rijal, and feeling overpowered by men. Each of these 2 are connected, are closely connected to the other. They share a strong relationship to the other. He grouped 2 words together within this supplication that are strongly connected to the other. He says, فَهَمُ وَحَزَنْ قَرِنَانِ. So if you look at the first 2 things that the Prophet ﷺ sought refuge from, that was ham wa hazan, and we broke down each of these words. They share a direct relation. That is because al-makruha warida ala qalb in kana min amr mustaqbil yatawaqqa'uhu, because that thing that is dislike which can occur in the heart, meaning if it's from those future events that a person might fear will take place, okay, that it can happen. Okay, that's a ham. Meaning, in other words, a person can feel over a future event, a person can feel worried, anxious. It didn't take place yet, but a person is anxious because he doesn't know the outcome of it. Okay? So in kana min amr madin qad waqa'a ahdatha hazan. Okay? And if it's a past event, whether it's a tragic event, whether someone died or whether something happened tragically to someone, which we normally group with or term trauma, then that can also play a part too, and it can bring about what we call hazard. All right? So he said that this pertains to both of them, if you look at that, what it brings about. Having anxiety over future things because you don't know the outcome or what will actually take place, that's ham. And having feeling some type of way over things that already passed, which is you are traumatized from past experience or tragic events, that is hazan. He said, well, ajzu wal kasl also shares a direct relation. He said, فإن تخلف عبد من أسباب الخير والفلاح إن كان لعدم قدراته فهو عجز. So, other words, if the servant was to lag behind, in other words, if the servant was to leave off or to delay taking the means of doing those things which are good that will bring about success, right? That is absent of his capability, then this is edges. I mean, in other words, he might have the capability to do it, but he leaves it off, delaying these goods or taking these means, then this is a form of what we call incapability of edges. All right? And then if you look at the other word that the Prophet used was laziness, when كان لعدم إرادته فهو كسل. And if the person had left off or delayed the intention or the objective to do these things, then no doubt, even though he has the ability to do it, this is what we call kasal. And Ibn al-Qayyim has also said that laziness is having the ability to do something, but refraining to do it. Okay? Being inactive is not something that we want to encourage ourselves to be. This is why it's important that we keep up with the three things. We keep up with our health, we keep up with our body, we keep up with our mind, and we keep up with our spirituality. As you nourishing your body, you should be nourishing your mind. And as you're nourishing your mind, you should be nourishing your spirituality. All three of these things should be kept up. Sometimes we get sluggish because of the lifestyle that we live. Just think about it. Everything is just like a microwave lifestyle. Everything is just instant gratification, which brings about inactivity. Look at the tube. You're sitting there, you're not even using the most intricate part of your brain to watch the tube. You are being sluggish or lazy. You find yourself just sitting there, you're eating, you're not doing nothing. You're allowing yourself to become negligent of your duties, which is the most top priority thing, which is your duty with your Lord, your duty with yourself, and your duty with mankind. So that can also play a triple effect on you, being inactive. So it's important that we take a look at these things closely and ask the Creator, to allow us to overcome these things by learning this dua, inshallah. So here he says, and if we look at Jubal wal Bukhl, we see that they are also closely related. Why? Because if a person is able to be benefit to be able to occur from her, right? Then this person can, in other words, be beneficial, but due to the fact that this person feel a certain type of way, like shrinking down within himself, with his body, then this is a form of cowardness. Meaning he has the ability to do it physically. He has the ability, he or she has the ability to do it, but because of the fear and the shrinkage and being intimidated, they allow themselves to leave it off. And this is a form of cowardice. And bukhl, he says, is the case dealing with wealth. A person can have the wealth to give, but because of the stinginess of preferring it for himself or herself, or hoarding it and not wanting anyone to have it, which is greed anyway, then these things can also take place in terms of bukhl. All right? And if you look at Dala Dain wa Qahr Rijali Qarinain, if you look at this, in this version he used Qahr as opposed to Ghalaba, as what we started off with from the hadith from Bukhari. So if you look at this, they are both really closely related too. That is because to gain power over someone other than himself, okay, And if it be that the person has a haq over them, meaning a right that is owed to them, then what will happen is this will be from dollar dain, meaning you owe someone something. Someone loaned you something, someone give you something, someone extended courtesy to you, and then you feel not only indebted, you feel like a little bit weakened because at this point you know that you owe that person something. They have something over you. They have a right over you, right? So this can make you feel a little bit powerless, so to speak. And he said, وَإِنْ كَانَ بِبَاطِلٍ فَهُوَ كَهْرُ الرِّجَالِ. And if the opposite take place, meaning in terms of it isn't a right that is owed, and a person feel in matters that a person feel weak and overtaken, that someone can actually overpower that person. This is a form of humiliation, being subdued, or that someone can come to you and do something to you. You understand? So all of this is a form of of feeling down and hopeless. And he said the objective is that sense is from the strongest means which can cause or bring about these 8 things. Okay? Disobedience is from the strongest means that can bring about these 8 things. All right? Which can remove the favor or the bounty of the Creator upon you. And I wanted to bring this as a means of encouragement for me, for you, and all of us. One, that the Creator does not expect for you to be a superhuman. You're going to experience some of the emotions or all. And since you are not an independent human being as you are led to believe, you are codependent. So there will be scenarios or times where you will need someone other than yourself. And it will be times that you would need help, whether it's a form of a loan or whatever. And these things will happen. But it's important, number 2, that you keep that direct line open between you and the Creator to help you remove these feelings from you, and that you do not allow them to fester. This is what Islam teaches us, to help us remove going to that deep state, which is another talk and another time we'll talk about depression in light of Quran and Sunnah. But it allows us to go down into those deep states and then be feeling hopelessness or so overwhelmed and feeling overcome that we cannot do anything or we cannot see a way out. And in that case, we become in a stupor and it stops a lot of things. So there are things that Islam gives us, coping skills to help us manage and be able to deal with these events as they come and these emotions as we feel them. You're going to feel sad. You're not always going to be in an upbeat mode. You're not going to be happy 24 hours a day. It's not possible. That isn't going to happen. There's going to be mornings where you're going to wake up feeling down. And there's going to be sometimes you cannot pinpoint why you feel down. It can be connected to something, but you just cannot put your finger on why you feel down. And even though I have my theory in terms of desires, and that's something within the depression course we're going to go over heavy from the works of Ibn al-Qayyim, understanding Hawa and understanding desires, because it's important that we understand it. So this is just a brief video that we wanted to give some encouragement on understanding that Islam understands the human being, understands what you go through, and that your Creator is there, and that He's always there, and that if you feel down, or if you feel down and out, or if you feel overwhelmed by any of these things, then take comfort in the prophetic dua, and take comfort in the Sunnah, and take comfort in the Quran, and take comfort in helping one another to overcome these emotions so that we can avoid falling into a stupor or depression by the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakallah khair.